anyone can be an engaging speaker. You don't have to be Steve Jobs. And that's what we're here about. So let's get the ball rolling. Let's call upon Dr. Lutfi Fadil Lokman.
Is it okay if I don't use the mic? Sure. You guys hear me? Yeah. Thank you. So, good evening. I am Dr. Lutfi, and today I would like to tell you the story of how the sound of buzzing bees helped me build a hospital for the poor people in Cambodia. Everybody has a moment in their lives that changes the trajectory of their lives forever. It could be in the form of divorce, it could be a tragic accident, it could be a death of a loved one. But the good thing about our brain is that it's designed to forget. But what happens if the brain betrays you? What happens if you were not allowed to forget because of a constant reminder in your head? That constant reminder comes in the form of 1,000 buzzing bees in my ear. In the medical term, we call it tinnitus. For people who suffer this problem, they also suffer from depression, they have trouble sleeping at night, and for some who couldn't cope with this sound, they even kill themselves. And so, the night I got this problem will never be erased from my mind. It was 2 years ago. Before the event happened, I can tell I was a very different person. I was so proud of myself. I thought I got my life figured out. I was 32 years old. I went to medical school. I established myself as a public speaker, speaking on healthcare in poor countries. I went to Harvard University. They invited me to talk about healthcare for the poor nation, specifically on Indonesia, because I was studying Indonesia at the time. I won Best Intellectual Speaker twice. But that night, when I got this tinnitus, everything changes. We were playing some kind of a war game. It's kind of like paintball, except it's very traditional, and we were in the jungles, and we weren't wearing any protection. And during that night, we were ambushed by the so-called enemies. So they came from behind, and as I turned back, I saw someone was running towards me, and on his hands, he has this water bullet heading straight toward me in full force. I turned just in time to avoid my eyes from getting blinded, but instead, it hit my ears. Next thing I know, I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. The medical student now becomes the patient. And the worst thing is, the brain fluids were leaking out of my ears. Can you imagine how severe the damage has done to my ears? Many of us know that the ear is for hearing, obviously, but many don't know the function of balance. I've lost the sense of balance, so that when I walk, I always felt like falling. And because I felt like falling, I fell down. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is, when I fell down, I still feel like I was falling because I have no sense of balance. The world keeps spinning around me. And when I tried to rest on the bed, the world kept on spinning. And to top it all off, I have this buzzing sound in my ear to prevent me from sleeping peacefully. So I can do nothing. Can you imagine how depressed I was at that time? My future was basically destroyed if this damage is permanent. So I said to myself and I prayed to God, I promise that if I survive this, if I can walk out of this hospital in a straight line, I will do something good for mankind. I cannot wait because life is too short. I could have died that time because I could catch brain infection. So after a few weeks of rehabilitation, I recovered. And I said to myself, I have to stop pursuing from becoming the best speaker around and become the best doer. It is time for me to walk my talk. So instead of going to conferences, staying in big conference rooms, in big hotels, I went to the poorest of the poorest nation in the world. I went to the slums of Mumbai to see the poor people living there. I went to Cambodia along the Mekong River to see how the people there. I lived with them nearly for 1 month and see how they live. I went to the mountains of Indonesia to do health checkups. And what I discovered in these poor people is that the problem that they are facing, the solutions are very basic. The things I presented in my papers are all complicated stuff, but their problems lies in the most basic thing. For example, hunger. Last time I checked, the prescription of hunger is food. Everything lies in one word: accessibility. You don't need to become a doctor to solve this problem of poverty. You don't need to become a public health specialist to solve the problem in this community. Why don't you start now? So I was motivated, and I went back to Malaysia. I called all my passionate friends, and we set up our own NGO called Hospitals Beyond Boundaries. We registered this NGO under the Malaysian Societies Act last year. So the aim of Hospital Beyond Boundaries is not just to build hospitals, but as the name suggests, it took care of healthcare beyond boundaries, including adequate nutrition, adequate shelter, and also health education. So 1 year throughout our establishment of our NGO, we had many projects going on, and we had hundreds of volunteers ready to be called where we need them to. And last year, we were nominated as one of the best youth NGO by My Harapan. And now, our biggest project is going on in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. We have a building there that we are going to fundraise, to renovate and change it into our very own hospital. And mind you, most of us are only students. Many of us don't have degrees. I just graduated last month as a doctor. We are already trying to build a hospital there. So my message to you is that there may be things that happened to you in the past, tragic things. You may be reminded of it by a scar, reminded of it by a picture, or even a buzzing sound like me. Don't fret over it, use it. It could be a call for a greater purpose.
Is there any statistics that you can actually gather to help this kind of medical issue that can be framed in this story?
Statistics on global health? Yes, but I do have it with me now. Is right. Yeah, we've done a few research in the medical school. I did research in public health, and it's complicated stuff. But I can explain it to you if you want.
Are there
to.
a lot of people suffering from this?
Yes, of course. If you've been around Southeast Asia, I can tell the Cambodians are the most abused people by the government, to tell you the truth. You can see it. If you go in there, then you'll see it.
How long have you spent your time actually in Cambodia?
For 1 month. And it was right after I graduated as a doctor. So we went there and stayed for 1 month with the people there. We went to the hospitals and see how the condition was. Even the private hospitals are terrible, I tell you. So
How are you fundraising it besides
My Harapan, and we go to universities, and other than hiring volunteers, we spread proposals to them to give the people that they know who are potential donors. And we go to companies, and we had donations from Maybank around 2 months ago, where they donated a lot of it to us. Yes.
How much will you give this?
2 million ringgit. Yes.
Enjoyed the story.
Thank you.
And you see that there was this thing about your understanding of what people require is actually accessibility. I thought it was an interesting idea that, what did you mean by that? Is it just accessibility to a hospital that you meant? Because the concept of accessibility I thought was going to be something different, but when I saw that was building of a hospital, and I kind of like, oh, okay, I've seen that. So is there something different about this hospital?
As I told you before, the difference about this thing is lies in our own name. Hospital beyond boundaries means healthcare is beyond boundaries. But to get healthcare beyond boundaries, we need a base station, which is the hospital that we're building here. But we depend on the work of health workers, community health workers that serve as the bridge between the people and us. Because we are Malaysians, we don't know what their culture are, what their beliefs are, and what they really need. And many people there, they are jobless, but they have the potential if we teach them. I mean, basic things like this child has fever and has seizure. Most of the people there will disregard it. But if we send people, we teach them that it's not okay to have fits when you are a certain year old, and they will come from house to house and check to see if they have any problems. So the difference that healthcare lies beyond boundaries through the work of health worker research as a bridge between us and them.
So
that note, haven't we heard of Doctors Beyond Borders? Isn't this the same thing? They do this with university medical students already, right? All around the world. It's quite popular.
Yeah, I know. But Doctors Beyond Borders, they mainly work on disasters, on wars, and on hunger issues. But there is no base where there is a permanent hospital. Have you heard any permanent hospital run by Hospital Beyond Boundaries? I mean, Doctors Beyond Boundaries.
Well, they're at crisis
Yeah.
centers, right?
Yeah,
So
but it's short term. What we're doing is to be there in the community, to build the community not just into healthcare, but through economy, where the volunteers, the health worker I told you just now, will be paid, although they are volunteers, but I think it's right for us to pay them because they risk their lives with contacting infectious disease and all. So I believe they have the right to be paid.
Any other questions?
any questions from the floor?
So,
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.